So first up is the women. We now have Katrina Merriweather. Thanks so much for joining us, Coach. Your first year as the head coach at Memphis. When you came onto the campus and you have this long list of to-dos that you want to do your program, what was at the very top of the list?
The very first was definitely getting to know the kids. We wanted to make sure that we developed some relationships there. That transition can be tough, when you get a new coach and it's not who you signed up to play for. So we knew that they were going to be our number one priority, and that's going pretty well.
You have someone like Alana Davis coming back for her 5th year. We'll get to talk to her in just a bit, but that kind of senior leadership, what does that add to a team?
Well, it's really important, and I think that what Lanes does for us is she helps keep everyone's composure. She doesn't get too high with highs or low with lows, and I think that just has so much to do with her experience. It was really important for her to come back and to have a full year, to have an opportunity to leave this place a little better than she found it. And then you add Tyler Frierson to that as well. It has a lot of experience with our staff, and I think that both of them together have done a tremendous job leading.
Coach Merriweather, Brooke Weisbrod in the studio. You have such a long history of postseason success throughout different programs. And I'm wondering, what is that common thread that you can identify and that you hope to bring to the city of Memphis?
Well, I think that first and foremost, we have to always remember why we coach, right? And for us, I always want our student athletes to have an experience that was very similar to the one that I had as a student athlete. And we put a lot of energy and a lot of effort into creating a culture and an environment where they can be challenged, but at the same time, they're lifted in a positive way and empowered. And I think that it just starts there. The basketball stuff is obviously important, but I think that if you expect them to play hard and you want them to buy into the identity, which is for us, defending and rebounding, then they have to know that you'll do anything for them. So we do a tremendous job of taking a lot of time and energy and effort and investing in them so that they can then turn around and invest in themselves, not just basketball-wise, but things we do with them off the floor. Spending time, whether it's taking walks or going to have meals and just sitting down and making sure their academics are together and really caring about who they are as people and what they're going to do and for their future. And to me, that's what we do that makes the basketball part just a little more simple. So we're just going to keep working day after day to do our best to take care of them.
Coach Mike O'Donnell here in the studio. You get the job, and obviously you experience great success at Wright State. You're into a great program in Memphis, but I'm curious, when you got this job, who was the first person that you called? Because it's so hard to stay in the present moment. Who was the first person you called when you got the job?
That definitely starts with my family. There was no question that I called my dad, my mom, and we have this group message and this FaceTime where we can just hit a button and everybody's face pops up. So my family were the first people, but not to remiss, there was a long list of mentors and people who have been really good to me, from Mike Bradbury to Christy Curry over at Alabama. I just have a lot of people that have been cheering for me/us ever since I entered the profession, and people who have really invested in me, Keith Freemans of the world. I could just go on and on. There are coaches in this league that were very excited and happy. Michelle at Cincinnati, and Katie at UCF, Huey at Houston, just to name a few. So there's just this huge group of people that I felt like were really excited for the opportunity, and it felt really good.
Coach Merriweather, we have some questions via Zoom from the media members. I'll let Tom toss the first question your way.
Okay.
Just a reminder to our media members, if you could use the raise hand feature in the chat to let me know that you would like to ask a question. We'll first go to Brian Moss with Tiger Sports Report.
Hey, Coach. Since you got hired, what have you learned about your team, and what can Memphis fans expect from your team this year?
Well, what I've learned is that they are very hungry. They're very hungry to come back and to prove that the record that they had a year ago is not indicative of who they are as basketball players in regards to their talent and their effort. And that's probably the best part for us, is that we didn't have a problem coaching them. And again, I mentioned earlier that transition can be really tough, and we can only be as good as a team as they let us be their coaches. And they made a conscious decision that we were going to skip past all of the distractions and let's just get to work. And I think that that's what I figured out about this team that's going to give us a chance to compete at levels that I don't know that we're expected to compete. Repeat your second question for me.
Yeah, what type of a team, what can Memphis fans expect from your team this year?
Well, we're going to play hard. We're going to play hard. We're going to sit down and defend, and we're going to rebound. And I think that that's the most important thing for us right now. Everyone wants to say we're going to play fast. We're going to play as fast as we can to not turn the ball over. But we are going to be tough. We're going to play with some grit. And I do think that we have a chance offensively to be pretty exciting to watch. I think we have some really good shooters. We have some people that can create off the dribble. We have some people who can get to the rim, to the free throw line. So I think we have a chance to be exciting offensively. But one thing that is for sure is that we're going to be tough, and we're going to defend, and we're going to rebound.
All right, our next question will be from Jason Munns at the Commercial Appeal.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask you, what's been since you got to Memphis, what's been the toughest part of the job? There has to have been something that's popped up that maybe was unexpected or tough, tougher than you thought it might be, that sort of thing. So I was wondering what that was.
I'll tell you, there's a couple things that we anticipated, especially with the renovations, that we would be displaced a little bit, and that did happen. And what happened in regards to that was Coach Hardaway, his staff, extremely accommodating. We've been over here. We practiced a couple of weeks while Emma Roan was being finished. So I think just being flexible about any project that is that huge. When someone invests in the athletic department and the university decided to invest $3.5 million into Elma Roan, that there were going to be a lot of steps in that process. So I think that wasn't something that I could have anticipated. And I think that if everyone here had it their way, everything would have been completely done and finished by the time we were able to get on the floor. So honestly, that's about it. Because when you talk about this city and the support and the energy that we've received since we've been here, it's not anything that any of us have ever experienced anywhere else. The way that people show up and show out for basketball here is not something that I've ever been a part of. And that says a lot from a girl that grew up in Indiana. But it's just really a special place. And people have bent over backwards to make sure that we were comfortable and that we have everything that we need. So I think that if I had to choose something besides the 10 pounds that I've gained from eating all the barbecue in the last 6 months, it would just have to be working around renovations and making sure that everything is together for the season to get started.
Did Coach Jump surprise you last night with her performance at Madness?
She has a tendency to do that. Yes, that was a surprise. And I'll tell you, the reason we had the conversation about the jerseys was simply there's been a lot of great players here. And she says, hey, I want to wear a jersey of one of the alums. And I'm like, ooh, you got to be careful. We've got a few that have retired jerseys around here. And we were very happy to see them show up for Memphis Madness last night. I think we had over 20 alums that popped up in the building. So she said, don't worry about it. I'll just do something different. And so, no, I had no idea that something different meant a jersey with Merriweather on the bottom. But the staff was in on it, and they do a lot of really cool and special things like that to me and for me, which they enjoy embarrassing me as much as possible, too. But I thought it was a really cool idea.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, and our final question will come from Christy Thomas-Cuddy with ESPN.
Hi, Katrina. Kind of two parts. First of all, it's hard to start over. But how much of help has it been to have both Amani and Tyler come over from Wright State, whether it's terminology or just the way you want things done, to have them in the locker room? How has that maybe quickened the pace, if that's even possible, a little bit during this transition? And then secondly, and I know every team is different from system, culture, and everything, but has there been anything, whether it's statistically or you've watched film from a year ago, where you're like, ladies, we can be this much better if we can control this one tangible aspect of our game?
For sure. Well, first with Tyler and Imani, the reason why it's working is because they are really good kids. We had to think very long and hard about the pieces that we could add to this team that would be embraced. And we thought about basketball, of course, but we also thought about personality. And we thought about what they bring to the floor. And with Tyler, you bring a great communicator in that 5 spot, someone who obviously does know terminology, but someone who's very unselfish. And my conversation with her at the time was, hey, I don't know how much you're going to play. It would just be great if you decided to come and help us. And ultimately, when she decided to come, that's what she said. She said, I just want to come help. So her role at that time was completely undefined. Just knew that she was someone that you want on the team. She's a really great teammate. In regards to Imani, she's obviously really young, but she has an extremely high level of athleticism and competitiveness. And I felt like her coming would automatically elevate practice, because it's what happened when she joined the team at Wright State. We automatically got faster, quicker, more competitive because she plays so hard. So yes, having the two of them, very, very important, but not to dismiss the willingness for the rest of the team to embrace them. Because if that wasn't the case, if those other players hadn't said, hey, they can help us win, this is going to be good for us, then I think we would have had ourselves a problem. But we don't, and we didn't, and that just says a whole lot about this team and what they want moving forward. Secondly, turnovers. I think that that's been an emphasis for us from the beginning. And I do think that a lot of that has to do with chemistry, playing together, having the ability to run up and down quite a bit, to know each other's strengths. So that's the one thing that we're going to pay attention to, is taking care of that ball. I'm a big believer we got to get it on the rim. Get it on the rim, give us a chance to rebound it, because if you just throw it out of bounds or we give it to the other team, we don't even get a chance at the rim. So that's something that I'm sure that they're really used to hearing at this point multiple times in practice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, you know Memphis loves their basketball, and it showed up last night. I'm curious, so much of that is also because of what Penny Hardaway has brought back to the city of Memphis. What was your first conversation like with him when you got there?
Well, one, his message is always, I want this place to be great. And when he says that, he means the city, he means the university, he means the athletic department, he means men's and women's basketball. And I think that that's what makes him very special and very different. He's been great because you are able to have the people who are invested in women's basketball talk to him, and then him share how he believes in us, in our vision, and what we want to do here. I think that is very different in a lot of places that we have been, a lot of places that I hear other people have been, where the men's coaches so invested and engaged in what's happening, not just with their program, but other programs as well. So the conversations with him have been basketball, because his defensive mind is outstanding. I had to tell him to slow down a little bit. I'm not so sure that we're ready to do everything that he does defensively, but he's been to our practices. We've attended their practices. And so there's just a lot of sharing in regards to basketball stuff. And he's just really big. What do you need, and how can we help? And not only does he say it, but him and his staff, they come through with that. And it makes this place just that much more special because of it.
That's awesome. Congrats on the job, and looking forward to seeing what you guys put out on the court this year.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
You know, she brings in this pedigree. She's been to 2 tournaments with Wright State. She brings in some players for a team to, I know they're at the bottom of the preseason polls, but to be able to look at your coach and say, I know what you know what it takes to go there. How far does that go with a team?
Oh, it's incredible to have that experience and that familiarity that you can then teach to the other players in your team. So those essentially are 2 more players on the court for Coach Merriweather. And the thing that came across to me is, like, that's not the confidence of a coach that's picked last in the conference, right? Like there's such a calm confidence about her, and it makes me almost, want to be like, yo, I got an extra semester or something. Can I come back and play? But I really like her spirit. I like her focus, and you really feel like there's going to be a big change in Memphis.
You thought the same thing in listening to her.
It was my first time chatting with Coach Merriweather. She's real. I think the quote that I pulled out right away, she's like, look, everybody wants to talk about playing fast. We'll play fast when we can, but when we can't, we're not going to. And she's just very self-aware, and I think I really appreciated that. One of the beautiful things about college basketball is, a lot of times we think in terms of power leagues or power conferences. Well, Wright State went to 2 NCAA tournaments. That's coaching at the highest level against the best competition. Then you come into a conference, an elevated conference, obviously, into Memphis and the American. You've coached at the highest level, even though from a maybe national media perspective, Wright State isn't in one of the better conferences. You've been in the NCAA tournament. Doesn't get any higher than that. That matters to players and recruits.
It seems like a perfect fit there because you take that experience of playing in the postseason and
agree.
you bring it to a city that has a lot of talent in the middle school, high school area. Where for you, what's a good season for them?
I'd say finishing anywhere from, higher. I mean, they can only move up, in my opinion, right? But, what if they were able to finish in the top 6, the top 5? I mean, that would be an incredible move if they maybe make it to the semifinals of the AAC tournament, and she's probably listening to this to be like, our goal is the finals. Like, okay, listen, I'm not worried about the semis.
Teams,
But you bring up a great point. Like, now you're talking about going after players in Tennessee where there's like kind of another good university over there in Knoxville. Now you're legit able to say, hey, there's great talent in the city of Memphis. We want you to stay home. Don't try to leave the city now. We want to build from within.
Yeah, it's a 6-hour drive over to the other school you're talking about down I-40. Let's bring in now Alana Davis, joining us now. Alana, thanks so much. Looking forward to watching you play this season. We just got a chance to talk with Coach Merriweather, and just the vibe, the confidence that she seems to bring just through the TV screen. What have you learned from her so far on the court?
She has just been really great, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, she's just a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, you can kind of have this, like, where do I begin kind of list for her. Let's talk about on the court. She talked with us a lot about defense. What have you learned about her style of D?
Well, I know that she likes to push the ball, and she likes to rebound, and she likes to defend. Like, that's the biggest thing for her. And I think that's a good thing as well because, like, defense wins games.
Alana, Brooke Weisbrod in the studio. Like, I legit have a question down here that says, do you have a sense of renewed energy? And, you basically just hit that right on the head. But I love your energy and your smile. It just tells me how excited you are to get on the court and to play for Coach Merriweather. How would you kind of describe what her style has been? Like, what a practice has been like?
Practices have been really great. I think coming in with a whole new staff, like you really don't know what to expect. But I think everybody's really bought in and, like came to play, came to practice.
Alana, I've had a chance to play a long time ago. I'm a really old guy, but had a chance to play in the FedEx Forum a few times. It's a very smart basketball fan base. Those fans, they know the game of basketball. How excited are you to play in front of fans again this season?
I'm like really excited. The nostalgia that you feel when you like have so many fans in the atmosphere and stuff like that. It's just an amazing feeling. It makes you want to play harder. It makes you want to win because you have so many people like supporting you and like watching you.
Alana, we have some questions from the media via Zoom. I'm going to let Tom toss them your way.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris. Our first question will be from Brian Moss with Tiger Sports Report.
Hey, Alana, you guys were picked last to finish last. How much does that motivate you and to want to obviously do better and play with a chip on your shoulder?
When I saw that, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. I think not only for myself but for my teammates as well. I think it's giving us like a chip to play with on our shoulders. Like so it's motivating us to work harder because like we're not going to be last.
All right, and our last question will come from Terry Davis with the Tri-State Defender.
Hey, Alana, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Hey, man, last night with March, man, it was really, really nice. Who had more fun, you guys or the coaches? And what was your takeaway from Madness from last night?
I think the coaches had more fun. I think it's like what's really different from them, coming from a completely new school. So like some of the players, we knew what to expect, but I think like they really enjoyed themselves, and like just seeing all the fans there last night and knowing that we have such a big support system is like a great feeling, and I'm super excited for the season.
Alana Davis, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We're looking forward to watching you play. You guys open up the season November 9th versus Xavier. Thanks again.
Thank you.